Good morning, students. Today we will start with our Civics chapter number 3, Types of Government. Before knowing about the types of government, we should first know what is government. Actually, what is government? What are the functions? What are the works done by government? Now, let us see what is government. Now, where do we build roads and schools? The government decides. Can we make more electricity and build more dams? No, that government decides. Who runs the trains and the postal service? The government. Who trains the army and protects India from outside attacks? It's the government. Who decides what punishment is to be given to robbers and murderers? The government. And who has to help people when there is an earthquake or tsunami or flood? It's again the government. So, a government is a system of controlling a state or a country. A government has rules that all people living in it must follow. See, the government has to look after the country. Now, there are few things you can think about. The most important task of a government. What can be the most important task? Now, actually, what is government? Here, few levels are there. Levels means the government has to manage the whole country, correct? Now, think of the size of our country. It's huge. So, with so many people inside, one team cannot manage the whole country. It's impossible. So, we have to have different teams for towns, for states, and for the country. Even within the teams, there are different groups to look after different things. These smaller teams look into more details and the bigger teams look at the big picture. Now let's see the different levels of government, which are central government. The team that works for the whole country overall is at the central level. They have to take decisions keeping the whole country in mind. So the biggest decisions and policies are all decided at central level. Few examples we can see how India will behave with other countries, what tax the people of India will have to pay, what national highways are needed. These are the questions for central government. Then whether they should continue with 50 paisa or 25 paise coins, right? All these comes. Now the state government. See, the country is divided into many states and each state has a separate government. You know, the state government has to look at what the central government has decided and then keeping that in mind decide the details. Few examples for the work of state government are how to build roads and railways to connect major cities in the state, what textbooks to make for the students, what local festivals to be celebrated. Now, the state has districts, villages, towns and cities which comes under local government. Now, cities have lots of people, towns are smaller and villages are even smaller. The needs of each are different. Each has a different government to look after the details. Now, examples for local government decisions are building parks, libraries, flyovers in the town, what statues to put up at various crossroads, and names of for streets, collecting and disposing of trash. What level of government would this decision be taken? See, maintaining peaceful relations with Russia. What do you think? Starting 2 more trains between Mumbai and Pune. What is there? Which government? Building a children's park. Building a well in the common area of a village. Which government? Changing the design on the 500 rupee note. Which government has to decide? Adding a new tax in the country. Which government will decide? Give all the farmers in Maharashtra free seeds to grow their crops. Which government will decide? Yes. So, what is government? What laws they have to understand? When people live together, they have to live by certain rules. Who decides the rules? The government does. And when they decide the rules, they also have to decide the punishments. The rules and the punishments for not obeying any rules are known as the law. There are teams to check that the law is being followed and to give out punishments. There are teams to check that these punishments are being followed also. For example, see, there is a law that you have to stop at a red signal. If you don't stop at a red signal, the punishment is a fine or jail. Now, who checks that you are following that law and gives you the punishment? It's the police. What if someone feels that they are punished wrongly? Then that person can argue and fight, and then someone decides who is right and who is wrong. There are teams to allow the people to fight also. Now, the judge listens to both the sides of the story carefully. The judge checks what other people have to say. If there are other things to support anyone's story, then the judge decides who is wrong and gives order about what to do. Now, do you think the government needs to make rules for everyone in the form of laws? Now, what is government then? There are different types of government. The government is what controls a state or a country. But how does it control a state or a country? There is no one way of doing it. So there are many different ways in which a government can work. Basically, controlling a state or a country means deciding what to do. Who decides and how do they decide? Who the decision makers are and how they take decisions is what tells us what kind of government it is. Sometimes one single person decides what to do. This person can be a king or a dictator. This is called an autocracy or a monarchy. The monarch can discuss things with different people, but he takes the final decision. A monarch does not have to explain his actions or decisions to the people. Kings and queens used to be monarchs. Second type is democracy. The people in each part of the country elect their leaders, and these leaders then choose their supreme leader, and this is called a democracy. Third type coming is anarchy. Sometimes there is no government at all in a country or state. This can happen for some time when there is war or a government has dropped. Now, what kind of government do you think would be the best for a country? Do you think it is important for people to be involved in decisions that the government takes? No, it's government. What is democratic government? The government that India has is a democracy. That means the people themselves are the rulers. Now, choosing the leaders happen through elections. All adults in the country get to choose through voting, and this is called adult franchise. In many countries like the USA and UK, women were not allowed to vote. Women had to protest and fight to get that right. The right to vote is called suffrage. So this was called the women's suffrage movement. It was a long and tough fight. Women in USA got the right to vote in 1920, and in the UK they got it in 1928. Do you think there is a country in the world now? Now, what do you understand by the word government? What do you understand? To understand the types of government in a better way, see, monarchy. What is monarchy? It is the oldest and the past was the most common form of government. Oldest and it was the most common form of government which was followed, and a monarch is the king or a queen, as I told, is the most powerful person. Now this form of government is hereditary. See here, this is Jalaluddin Akbar. It's the best example for it. See, one after the other, one after the other, one particular family ruled the complete country. It can be a daughter, can be a son of that particular person, but the complete country was following that particular rules. Another type can be is dictatorship. Now, what is dictatorship? See, all the decision making powers lie in the hands of one individual, not even the family, only one individual or a very small group of powerful people. And in our history, we know that many countries had dictators. Dictators means Dictators means the rule of only one individual person. The complete country was to follow the rule of only one particular individual. And the greatest example is Adolf Hitler. He was the most common example of dictatorship. This particular person used to govern the complete country. One more form can be the unitary form of government. It is the one where there is the only one government for the whole country. Like Great Britain and China, they are the examples of such forms of government. In federal form, power is distributed between the central and the state governments. For examples like India and the USA. Now, after this, the most important type is the democracy. It is the most popular form of government today, and the greatest thing is we in our country, India, we have the democratic government, which we will deal in detail in our next class. Thank you, kids.